The Czechies may lead both championships, but with a target on their back, there will be plenty of hungry drivers ready to challenge them. Now they have to fight for it in the Alabama woods as we get ready for the Porsche Sprint Challenge Cayman Series. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is former sports car racer Joey Atterbury. Joey, it's been a day full of action here at Barber, and we get one last race this afternoon.
It's been a fantastic weekend of racing. We've got the Caymans out on our first of two qualifying laps, first of two pace laps, and let's take a look at the track map of Barber Motorsports Park here just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. A racetrack that is filled with elevation changes. Turn number 1, it kicks off with an aggressive downhill corner into the Alabama roller coaster through turns 2 and 3. Massive elevation change on the uphill and downhill, and it is so important to be on the throttle going down into Charlotte's Web. That is turn number 5, our best passing zone on the racetrack. Also, look towards that museum corner, turn number 8. That's another great passing opportunity, especially if you exit the previous corner side by side. Now we get into the backside of the racetrack with the fast left-right switchbacks of 10, 11, 12, and 13. After turn number 13, you go up and over the tunnel. The car becomes incredibly unweighted by the time you reach turn 15, 16, and one final corner to end this racetrack, turn number 17 here at Barber.
It has been a real challenge, but that's why we love it. And we, of course, have our cars heading around on their pace lap, so that gives us a chance to go through today's starting grid, with qualifying actually happening yesterday for these Caymans. And up on the top, it is Ford Koch, almost taking a bit of a surprise pole right at the very end. Cody Knight is going to be starting next to him. From there, Greg Checky, our leader in the Masters, for his pole, will start from 3rd overall. Anna Checky is going to be starting right next to him. That's his daughter. Keith Grant will be starting in 5th, followed by Todd Rutura in the 6th position. After that, it is Tom Rogers starting P7 today, and Bill Pelichewski will be next to him fighting for the Masters, as Greg Herbeck starts in 9th, and then in 10th, Joey, it's going to be Dan Drowan.
And then we've got the number 32 of Chad Knight starting in 11th place, with Spencer Proper next to him starting in 12th. In 13th is going to be the number 15 car. That's Tad Cusack. Lined up next to him is Jim Johnson starting from 14th spot. And 15th is going to be Tom Kerr. And one final car is Rob Trollinger, the number 94, to round out our 16-car field.
Should be pretty fun to watch regardless, especially with what we've seen so far here today. And they're continuing to try and weave to warm up the tires to prep, as they will line up 2 by 2 once they get towards the end of this lap. The Porsche pace car leads them around. And as I mentioned, Joey, both the Czechies are in the lead in points after our first 2 races. But the interesting thing is, while Greg Checky starts on pole, he hasn't won yet this season.
This might be the day that he has been looking forward to. It'll be really interesting to see both Greg and Anna lined up next to each other on row number 2. Greg's going to have the inside run going down into turn number 1, so we'll see how feisty Anna gets in that number 27 car. We're talking about the 72 and the 27 riding on board with Anna right here on driver's right-hand side. And folks, remember, these Caymans still 500 horsepower. These are still rocket ships around this place.
Also, watch out for Cody Knight in the number 3. He's been a very promising driver, but he's still looking for his first win. When is he going to cross that off of his list as we come around out of the final 2 corners, and they are all lined up ready to go. This is what we long for in racing. These beautiful starts with the sun getting low in the sky. Ooh, some drivers maybe a bit backed up, trying to get back into line. They are going to wave the green flag anyways, but this has jumbled things up. Down to the first corner as we wait to see if they get out the other side. We got one car with damage. There must have been contact.
Yeah, that's Spencer Proper, the number 30, who's definitely got a busted radiator in the front end of his machine as we race off through the Alabama roller coaster for the first time. Our leader, the 23 car, doing a fantastic job. I do see that Anna Checky has overtaken Greg. She is 3rd in line.
So she's going to try and see if she can make it 3 wins in a row, and down to the inside coming into turn 5. There was an attempt made between, I think that was the 2 Czechis going wheel to wheel.
They got pretty close down there at turn number 5. I also saw that Keith Grant was really forcing the issue, and we've got our full course yellow. I believe this is going to probably be for some fluid on the racetrack when that number 30 kind of got stacked up, and the accordion effect on the front straightaway definitely had some front end damage.
And he's come to a halt on the track as well. This is what I wondered about when we saw all of that steam coming out the front. Could he even make it back without harming the car? And the answer is a firm no, as he's had to pull it over. Unfortunately, not in a spot that's going to put him out of harm's way. There is a little bit of an opening, but I don't think they can fit a Porsche through that, unfortunately. And they'll have to try and bring out the tow truck and wheel him back into pit lane. So this 35-minute plus 1 lap race will now be a bit shortened.
Yeah, definitely a little bit unfortunate. And, I don't want to jump to any conclusions out here, but typically on a start, what happens is that accordion effect, right? When you think of a musical accordion, it stretches out and then it compresses back together. And when everybody is really antsy and anxious to get on the gas for the green flag, it tends to compress up, and I have a feeling that's what happened in the number 30.
So your order is Ford Cook still up at the front, with Cody Knight still sitting in P2, Todd Rutura rounding out the podium, Anna Checki still in that 4th spot. Greg Checki still sits in P5 and is leading in the Masters. He's split by Keith Grant between he and Tom Rogers, who is currently sitting in 2nd. But we've already lost 1 car in this group, so we're down to 15 once we get this one restarted. Hopefully, should be a relatively quick pull and be able to get that car out of the way, because it was definitely rolling, moving along, just I'm sure eventually the fluids ran out and it was too dangerous to keep driving it back to the pits.
You're right, and you're spot on. I think that Spencer Proper did the right thing to do and pull it off of the racetrack. It's just a little bit unfortunate on the timing and the location of it all. And a little bit of a shame, too, for that number 30. I think that Spencer was having such a fantastic weekend and was really looking forward to this race.
Yeah, in fact, he managed to finish on the podium in race 1 back at Sebring. Didn't repeat that in race 2, but he's definitely not going to repeat it in race 1 here today. Looks like we've got a little bit of a replay on our side. It's not on the broadcast itself, and yeah, I can definitely see whoever he got into may have lost quite a bit of their rear bumper as well. Who was lined up in front of him, actually?
I'm not too sure about that one.
That's Droin.
Yeah, it definitely got heavy into the back, and then I believe it was also, it might have been Jim Johnson getting in front of Spencer Proper once kind of that contact happened. Can't really blame Jim too much, just trying to avoid an accident, but I'm sure that race control will be reviewing everything.
No doubt, and they'll give their thoughts on that. Sometimes, like you said, those checkups do happen, and I guess that's just a very hard lesson, this race for Spencer Proper, and one where it will take him out before he even got to race for a lap. We've been watching on board with Anna Checki in the meantime. For those of our fans who are here at the track, we do still have an online broadcast on YouTube for Porsche Motorsport North America, and we've got the safety team out there. Looks like maybe picking up a bit of the debris, and yeah, that looks to be on the front straightaway that we've got that happening. So that makes sense where those 2 cars made contact out of the final corner. They left a little bit of a hazard. We definitely do not want that, because that could easily cut a tire.
And I think the kind of the fortunate luck of that contact, though, is it didn't look to be anything severely terminal in terms of the drive line or the engine. It just seemed to be water on the racetrack, and where my competitor brain goes is if there's any fluid, and guess what? The safety car's been driving over it, the field has been driving over it. It is not slippery at all, so it was just a little bit of water that came out of that car.
Yeah, that's the good thing. I was really glad when you mentioned potential fluid on the track that it was likely that water. So it doesn't seem to be any sort of hazard that they have to worry about in that sense. In the meantime, I don't see a safety vehicle by Spencer's car quite yet. Hopefully they'll get there pretty soon. We can get going racing. We're already about 5 minutes into this one.
Since you mentioned it, it is a 35-minute plus 1 lap race that we're doing here in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Series. So we'll take it all the way down to the zeros and then give it that plus 1 lap. Right now it is the number 23 out front, followed by the 3 and the 59 and the 27. Those are all Pro-Am cars before we get to 5th place with Greg Checky. He is our Masters class leader.
Now I'm just noticing, we mentioned Dan Drowan was the one that got rear-ended there, and I think he must be back out on the track because I'm not showing him in pit lane, but he is a lap down, so I think he must have visited his crew to look over the car and then been able to emerge, but not without, unfortunately, losing a lap. And when that happens in the Sprint Challenge Series, it's typically very hard to get back onto that lead lap, so he's going to just have to circle around and have a bit of an extended test session.
I do see that our Barber Motorsports Park track workers and safety crew are over by the number 30. So they're going to be retrieving that car as quickly as possible. It is in a somewhat convenient location to get it hooked up to the flatbed and whatnot. Just got to get it angled the proper way. See some of the track vehicles over where some of that incident actually started and took place. They're just going to basically be sweeping the racetrack all the way down the start-finish line, making sure it is nice and clean.
Okay, so we wait patiently for this to get restarted. This does give us an opportunity to give a quick mention, because we might have some new viewers and especially fans here at the track getting to watch this series for the first time. If you're wondering how you tell those Pro-Ams and those Masters apart, well, the Pro-Ams are going to have white boxes and white end plates on the rear wings of the car, whereas the Masters will have yellow in place of theirs. So that's your easiest visual way to tell apart who is racing who. All the cars are the same, but it is down to how they license the drivers. The Masters are simply drivers who are over 50. And they are getting that car up onto the flatbed now, so it looks like we're making quick progress.
And of course, under any sort of full course yellow procedure, I mean, I'm watching Spencer Proper inside his race car right now. He is totally A-okay, just fine out there, so no harm, no issues with that little bit of contact.
So hopefully we'll get this one going, maybe with about 25 minutes left, depending on how fast they pull that car out of there. But we're down to about 27 plus a lap to go at this stage. Everybody just kind of cruising around, waiting for this to get going once again. It is still Ford Koch who is up at the front of the Pro-Ams with Greg Checky, with a little bit of a buffer between himself and the rest of the Cayman Masters field. So he's probably feeling a little bit better, although that was certainly an interesting moment between the two of them heading down into turn 5.
Well, and I think what we're kind of forgetting about, too, is that it was Todd Rotora that was the one that kind of came out with that one, because it was both Checkies lined up 3rd and 4th to start this race, right. And that number 59 has slotted himself up into 3rd.
That's an excellent point. I had missed that one, so he's going to try and grab that one with both hands. Hasn't quite had the results that he's been hoping for, but he has looked pretty darn fast since he's hopped into this series. This is, I believe, only his 4th professional race, somewhere around there. This is his 3rd ever race in the Sprint Challenge Series, so he's coming in a little bit green. But what has been remarked to us about him, as well as the results that he has relayed to us, is that as soon as he got into the car, he has proven to be a quick learner and having speed pretty much right off the bat. So you always love to see that natural talent. Let's see where he can take it from here.
I can report that the number 30 is on the flatbed and making their way back to the paddock right now. So I know that I am anxious to get a green flag going again. I'm sure the drivers are pretty anxious, and it kind of throws them for a little bit of a mental loop too, right? Because they're so ready to get going, and then all of a sudden we have that full course yellow. Got to calm it all down, but then bring it back once we go back green.
Exactly, and it's not really what you're mentally prepared for, without a doubt. But regardless, they'll have to get used to this. These things do happen from time to time in various series. Now, we're being told that while timing and scoring, if you're watching the tower, may say that Dan Drowan is down in 15th, we are getting an update that he is not actually at the back and laps down. So there's a bit of a transponder issue. We'll try and see if that can get fixed at some point. In the meantime, we'll see if we can verbally update you once we kind of sort it out ourselves up here in the booth on where exactly he is. Certainly adds to the confusing nature of some of this start to this race. Watch to see when the pace car comes back into view here on whether or not those lights are out.
It's pretty far from our overhead shot here. I think we'll get a good idea when we visually see it, and it does look like the lights are in fact out on the safety car, so that's going to hand the field over to Koch in the number 23. You're going to see that red safety car accelerate away from the field, and it'll be all in the hands of that driver.
You can already see that the pace car has pulled away here, so Ford has control of the field. This restart is up to him, and it's going to be single file, so hopefully that should help some of what we experienced before and that we can make it nice and tidy. Now, they have told the drivers they need to pack up tightly as well. They don't want to see anybody backing up and trying to get a run here, and the green flag is already being waved. They are on their way. Finally, we go racing with 23 minutes plus a lap left to go, plunging into the first corner. It is staying mostly single file.
And there is definitely a little bit of bumper-to-bumper between Keith Grant and Tom Rogers going through turn number 1. Tom Rogers is one of those cars trying to get up there and catch Greg Checky for that Masters lead. And right now it looks like Anna Checky has also overtaken for what is second place. I believe that Keith Grant has fallen down to fourth. Him and Greg Checky are going to go side by side into turn number 5. Room being given, and now it's going to be a drag race coming out of 6.
And I think that must have been a problem with Rutora because he was the one up there. And Grant, if I remember right, was between Greg Checky and Tom Rogers. So he's trying desperately to keep up with Anna as she chases down Ford up at the front. We've also had a penalty for the 59 passing under yellow.
Oh, that's a little bit unfortunate there for that 59 car. Then that is Todd Rotora. So that's going to be one of the reasons he might have gotten that radio transmission and just let a couple cars by. But I tell you what, the battle between Greg Checky and Keith Grant, it's Pro-Am versus Master, but Keith is looking for a way by.
He is, and he was the one that was fighting with Anna Checky at the last race. That orange and chrome car was dealing with the other CHR vehicle. But now, if he can't get by Greg, this is a perfect opportunity for Anna to really focus forward. She wants to make a three-peat of wins, but currently Ford Koch is trying to deny that. They cross the line, and it is about 0.8 of a second separating P1 from P2.
Well, with that little abbreviated full course yellow, the drivers are right back on it in full attack mode out there. Can't wait to see what the remaining, call it 20-plus minutes is going to do for us here on the racetrack. And I do see that Koch out front starting to accelerate away from Anna Checky. Greg Checky, honestly, playing a great blocker right now.
It looks like our 98 of Drowan was, I believe, around 7th place overall, it looks like right now, which should put him just outside of the podium of the Masters, as he's currently sitting behind Bill Pelichewski. So he is still out running, thankfully, and is still competing. But as we watch them now circulate around, these drivers find themselves in a fair bit of trouble in more ways than one. We're seeing there may have been some contact for the 59 car as well as the penalty that he suffered.
I think it's going to be a double whammy because something we did not notice, Cody Knight, the number 3 car that was running in second place that qualified on the front row, has fallen all the way back to 11th place overall because of that contact. That's why Anna Checky got through. That's how Greg Checky got through. That was the schmozzle in the Alabama roller coaster.
I can't help but feel for Cody because, like I keep saying, he's so fast, but even when he tries to stay out of trouble, trouble seems to find him. It seems like the 88 of Jim Johnson has come to the pit lane. I don't know if there's some sort of trouble with him right now, maybe a car issue of some sort. I don't see any messages about him being sent down there for a penalty to serve. In the meantime, the battle up at the front still going hot. Ford Koch, though, he's separated to now up to 1.3 seconds. He's legging it and trying to run away.
To expand on that point, the last lap, purple fastest of all, a 30.99 on the racetrack, and you compare that to Anna Czecki giving chase right now about a quarter of a second faster, and then about 3/4 of a second faster than the rest of the field. Koch has got his head down, looking forward.
And there is so much motivation for Greg Czecki to play defense here. It's not just for the fact that he's the lead in his class and he would like that buffer of Grant to stay behind him to keep Tom Rogers away, but it also helps out his daughter, who is trying to hold on to that second, maybe even go for first. So if he can hold up Keith Grant, I mean, this is all around a good thing for him.
That's exactly what I was kind of mentioning just a few laps ago. Playing the best blocker in the world right now is that 72, because he's now accelerated away from a couple of those other cars and actually fallen back from Anna Czecki out there as we ride on board with the number 3. This was our second place car that was running at the time, and unfortunately had that little bit of an incident down there in turn number 2, which took him way down the field.
And unfortunately for Keith Grant, he also has Tom Rogers relatively close behind. Tom is within striking distance of Greg Czecki if he can get up there. So Keith is not only having to try and see if he can get by Greg, but he's also got to watch out because the Masters are going to be fighting for their own lead. And Tom will no doubt be eager to try and get by that orange machine if he sees an opportunity.
Greg is, I think, liking what he's seen in the rearview mirror because of exactly what you said, right? As long as Tom Rogers is putting the pressure on that number 40 of Keith Grant out there, it allows Greg to focus on his brake markers, focus on his apexes, make sure he doesn't make any sort of mistakes out there, and he should be able to drive a nice, clean race while those other two kind of scrap it out directly behind.
Still, you can see how closely they're matched. And we saw this in qualifying, that so much of the midfield could not get away from each other on single lap time. And it seems to be coming true here in the race itself. You can see 4 in a line down the back straightaway being led by Greg Czecki. And that's also Bill Pelichewski. He came away with a second place in race 2 back in Florida. He's currently sitting in third. Can he top his best of the season by going for a potential win here? Because we've got 3 of our Masters all almost nose to tail.
And another purple fastest lap from our leader, a 1:30.6, continues to grow that gap, balloon that gap. That's a half second faster or more than anybody else in the field, now up to 1.7 seconds between Ford and Anna.
Bill Pelichewski was fast at one time, even though he wasn't the quickest in those Masters this lap through. He holds the fastest lap of that Masters class. Meanwhile, Keith Grant has taken a look down to the inside as they plunge into Charlotte's Web. Did he go too deep? Yes, he did. And Greg is going to be able to cut back. Will Tom also go by in the process as the two of them go wheel to wheel? No, it looks like Keith Grant had enough of an exit to hold on for now.
Tom might push the issue on the outside going in here into this turn 7-8 complex, the museum corner, but decides to slot back in line. I think that was pretty wise because if you look directly behind him is that Nerds machine of Pelichewski. So I feel if Tom Rogers maybe left the door open trying to force something, he might have been taken advantage of.
Over-eager that time from Keith Grant. He gave it a good go. It just unfortunately did not stick. And that allows Greg Czecki to get some breathing room on top of things because he had a much better exit out of there. In the meantime, Ford Koch is just on a rocket ship today.
Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2. He's had the fastest 2 laps on the racetrack, and he improves yet again down to a 129.5. That is 9/10 faster than his competitors.
Unbelievable. The only thing that's going to keep him from doing what we saw in the GT3 Cup cars, where we witnessed Carl Stout just running away from everything, is I think we've got so much of a shorter race, he won't have the time to get as big of a gap, but it's already very large. Anna Czecki, though, is keeping him within about 3 seconds currently. She's doing her darndest to make sure that he cannot relax fully.
I have to kind of chuckle to myself over here because I don't think that Ford knows anything other than purple on the timing board, because he just went purple again in sector number 1 as this train of cars goes from turn number 6 all the way down to turn number 8. It's still that great battle between Greg Czecki, Keith Grant, Tom Rogers, and Bill Pelichewski, the caboose.
This is really where the action is right now. Everybody else is kind of separated behind them in the meantime. So a battle essentially for third overall, but definitely for the lead in the Masters, being split by at least one of the Pro-Ams. As we mentioned, Tom Rogers in this group. That's Bill Pelichewski in the bright magenta Nerds car. And then while the timing and scoring will not show it, the car behind him is Dan Drowan. And they also have Greg Herback, who is kind of clinging to the tail.
Settling into the rhythm now of everything. I think that the drivers understand where they need to place the car on the racetrack, maybe understand a weakness or a strength in their competitors. And they're just going to try to turn the best laps that they possibly can right now. Maybe show a nose down to the inside of one of these corners to play a little bit of a mind game with your competitor, right? You just want to take their eyes off of their marker and into the rearview mirror on you, hoping that you can maybe open up the door from a mistake.
Down into turn 5 once again, not nearly as close as it was before between Grant and Checky. And I think we've got the 59 in pit lane potentially serving his penalty.
He's actually already served the penalty. I think he's going to be going back out onto the racetrack or hooking a left. It looks like it's going left up into the paddock. So unfortunate.
Calling it a day a little bit early. I'm sure that is supremely frustrating after the car looked so quick at the start of this race. Cody Knight, after that incident, he's still stuck in 10th overall, but he's being scored as 4th in his class. We watch from above here with our drone showing the car of Greg Checky now stretching it out. It's looking like it's a full second over Keith Grant. He's not been able to recover ever since that attempted pass. It seems like he kind of dropped a little bit and isn't able to get up to him.
I agree with you, and it could also be from Greg Checky turning personal best fastest laps as well. He has been on a mission to try to cut down that lap time, and I think because of it, Keith Grant is just maybe struggling a little bit to keep up. And as I say that, Greg Checky just took the fastest lap in the Masters class.
Aha, he's picking it up. He's feeling good out there. And now I see that Cody Knight is also showing in a pit lane. So I wonder if he's also feeling some residue from that incident, finding himself with some residual damage. We'll try and see if we see him going past us here in just a moment. But up at the front, it is still Koch that is our leader in the number 23. Just not a whole lot to report on that front, although he's no longer setting purple lap times.
No, it was just a 1:30.3 that last time by. I'm really enjoying watching the in-car from him right now. If you look down at the bottom right of the screen, you get to see the throttle and the brake traces. But once again, just watch the throttle. It's a smooth roll onto it. Over the crest, maybe a little bit of a hesitation there. You want to lift off the throttle to make the front end bite through this incredibly tight sector number 3 of turns 15 and 16. And then you come up to what is turn number 17 here on the racetrack, the final corner. And once again, nice and steady, rolling onto the throttle. Really good throttle and brake inputs from what I see out of Koch.
So I did see Cody Knight return to the track. Unfortunately, the side of the car that I think got hit, we weren't able to see. So can't really tell you much in terms of what the status of the car is. We'll watch when he comes back by us down to turn 5 so that we can see the right-hand side of that machine. The gap between Ford and Anna up now to about 4.9 seconds. And I don't see extensive damage on Cody's car. So not totally sure what to tell you is going on that front. Regardless, I am glad that he's able to return to the circuit. He's just a lap down now.
And it certainly seems like, I wouldn't say the cork in the bottle. Oh, there's an off at turn number 6. The car heavy sideways. Talk about some car control and being able to save it. That was, I believe, Greg Herbeck. Was that Drowan there coming out at turn number 6? That's right, because of the transponder.
Yep, that was Drowan. I'm glad he's able to keep the car going. What a day he has had between being run into by somebody. Now he's got to try and save the car, and on top of it, he's been invisible to race control.
That was one heck of a save. I mean, when you get that far out, when you're on the gas at turn number 6, and now we've got a huge impact off of turn number 11 on the backside of the racetrack.
And I believe that looks like Cody Knight. I cannot fully confirm, but it looked like his paint scheme out there. We'll see whether we can get some confirmation. That was a huge, huge hit coming off of 10 and 11, I believe.
I believe it might be the other Knight.
Oh, Chad Knight.
Yes, it is the 32, unfortunately.
Oh. We'll wait patiently to make sure everything is okay, but there was a lot of parts that we saw flying off the car in that hit. I can tell you that we see the driver moving, so that is good news. So he is in the car and able to move under his own power. He has not stepped out of it quite yet, but the safety car out for the second time in today's race. 9 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Because that was such a huge hit, I don't know that I'm confident we would be able to restart this race, because they're going to have to clean up a lot of debris. We can't see from where we are what state the barrier is in. Ooh, yeah, it looks like from what we can see on our side that the car did get into the grass and maybe just had a bad bounce trying to return to the circuit.
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to speculate on anything further than what I was able to see, but Joe, you're right. It just got out way, way, way too wide coming out through turn number 11. And it was 4 wheels in the grass, and typically when you're out there at the exit of that corner, it's paved, but that car was so far off that when it rejoined, it had to go through the grass, and that's really what upset the platform.
We slow down once again. Just a quick update of your order. Ford Koch, your leader in the number 23. Anna Checki sits in second. That's your 2 Pro-Am top 2. Third overall, but your leader in the Masters, that's Greg Checki currently. Then you've got third place in the Pro-Ams just behind him, Keith Grant, who has had certainly an adventurous day of his own. Down in fifth, it's Tom Rogers. He sits in second in the Masters, so he's still on his podium. Bill Pelichewski is behind him in the number 62, finishing out that Masters podium and your top 6 here today. So what a crazy race we have to end this one out. I do see a little bit of either steam or smoke coming off of that car currently, but they do have safety crew over to attend to the driver. That is the good news.
And I did see that the driver was out of the car. He went down to the turn station, so he was able to exit the car on his own power. That's at least the news that I have right now as they tend to the car on the side of the racetrack.
Exactly. Well, now we have to sit and watch the pacing once more. 6.5 minutes plus 1 lap. Yeah, it's not looking good for a restart. We might have to cycle around until we reach those final laps and then take the checkered behind the red pace car. And for these drivers, this is not the way they wanted the weekend to start racing-wise, but sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles, and you have to take it as it comes. And then they get the chance to thankfully do it again tomorrow, as long as that chassis is okay to restart. We'll try and wait and see this evening if we get any information if that will wind up being the case. Ford Koch probably not too upset that things could end as they are, because he would wind up our winner. You were talking about how he's run quite a few different series, but coming in here with the Kelly Moss team, I mean, my goodness, he's found success pretty much immediately.
And a lot of series in this type of race car, call it a GT4 type of race car, some of it in a different manufacturer, but of course great to see him here in the Porsche Sprint Challenge. And you mentioned the other series. I think what that does for a young driver, it's experience, right? And it doesn't matter if it's in this car, GT4, or if it's in another GT4. They all have very similar speed, and if anything, it's a benefit, right? You kind of get to learn the characters of a car. You can hop into a different car, learn the characteristics of that car. But one thing is for sure, I think that Koch does like the Porsche because he is out front. And I mean, nothing was going to stop this number 23 car. We kept saying purple sector, purple lap. I mean, he was just on rails out there.
I think he's earned this win and then some, that's for sure. It's hard to deny that he is the quickest. We're getting some onboard views of the debris fields down on the backstretch. That is our leader working his way through it.
And I know it is a lot of debris, right, that we saw, but I think that's a good thing. That usually means energy being dispersed out of the crash. It doesn't tell you how violent it was, though. I'm so happy to see Chad out of the car.
Yeah, we actually could watch that one happening out our window across the way, so we got firsthand looks at the incident happening. And I think, yeah, the driver being okay is really the biggest thing that I'm most happy about. We want to see everybody be able to walk away safely. In the meantime, we'll come around to complete one more lap once again as they exit out of turn 17. Tom Rogers probably going to be at least relatively happy with this one. May not be a win like he had in race 2, but that's going to be 2 podiums in 3 races to start off the season. Tom came away from the USA West Series back in 25, taking the Masters Championship over there. He's switched over to the North America Series now, which is a little bit of a different kettle of fish. There's maybe a little bit more participation, so you often see a little bit steeper challenge in trying to take titles with so many more hopefuls out there. And so far, so good, I have to say. His first race was compromised. He bounced back from that. And even though this one he didn't get all 35 minutes to try and compete for the win, what time he did have, has done a very good job to keep himself on the podium.
Tom is also just one of the great personalities in the paddock, an extremely nice gentleman, will always take the time and talk with you about the racing, talk with you about his race, and he's usually very candid about it too. You know, he'll say, oh, you know, I made a mistake, or I screwed up over here, and I know that I can do better, or we got caught out in practice without having the good tires on, that's why the qualifying went bad. So I really enjoy talking with Tom in the paddock, because he is one of those drivers that is a straight shooter, right? And that's not always the case with everybody. They try to kind of hide their cards or hide their speed or stuff like that. But Tom, it's definitely grown on me, and it's great to see him sitting out here in second. But you're right, maybe a little bit shortened. He was hoping to get up there a couple more.
Yeah. Well, and racing naturally always tends to have a lot of egos involved. So to see someone with the humility that he has about his racing is always refreshing to see. So I'm with you. I enjoy getting to chat with him and get an update on how the weekend is going. Same thing with Greg Herback, another guy that we like to catch up on. At least a nice top 5 for him today from where it sits currently. Again, another one probably would have hoped for a little bit more. He was split. Actually, I take that back. Did he get by? Yeah, I think it will be a 4th, because he got by Dan Drowan, who had his off when we were watching out of turn 5 a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, I did not check to see where Dan wound up after that incident. Next time they go by, I'll have to pay attention.
And I think that our friends over here in Timing and Scoring have at least updated where Drowan is and is currently on the lead lap. So that might be representative of where the car currently is. Placed, at least.
Placed, yes, we hope so. Always makes life fun when Timing and Scoring has a glitch on us, but when we have visual like we do with this one, that always helps. Now, because it takes a while to get around the track under pacing speed, it means we should get the white flag this time by, because we're less than a minute to go. And again, if you're new to the Sprint Challenge, the +1 lap that we keep talking about means that they wait for the clock to hit 0, and once it does, then they get that 1 to go signal and complete the race.
Just crawling by like you said, the debris field from a little while ago, and that's the right thing to do. Make sure all of the safety workers have all the confidence in the world that they can be operating out there on the racetrack, and they're still trying to put that car up onto the flatbed. I can see it here from my point of view, and like I said, it was great to see the driver out of the car, go over to the corner station, and be able to come back to the car. So I can say that the driver was out of that car. They're still just trying to retrieve it up onto the flatbed.
I can imagine it was an adrenaline rush going through that experience, without a doubt. And Ford is going to take that white flag here soon. The 23 coming around to the last corner. And already I can see that on the flag stand they prepared that white flag and are now waving it now that they are within visual of the field, letting them know it's going to be one more lap and it will finish behind the safety car.
Like you said, white flag displayed at the start-finish line. I'm sure the drivers may be a little bit relieved that it's over finally, but maybe a little bit frustrated that it was cut short. I think that Anna Checki did a fantastic job today. Same thing with Ford Koch out front. I mean, they've been the class of the field, both that CHR car and the Kelly Moss racing car. We get to look forward to race number 2, don't we?
I was just about to say, that's the good news, is that even if today was a bit shortened, we get to do it all over again. And if you want to see specifically these Caymans, that'll be at 3 p.m. tomorrow. However, we're going racing way before that. In fact, we get to open things up tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. here locally, that the GT3 Cup cars will have their race 2. And of course, that order will be positioned by your fastest lap in the second fastest lap in qualifying, or if you do a faster lap in the race than that, then it will be that they set it by. So we'll get that update once this race is over. Granted, they will already know who set their fastest lap in this race, since we're going to be finishing at pacing speed.
Well, and here's the probably frustrating part for everybody else. So Koch, his qualifying time at 29.51. His fastest lap in the race today at 29.52.
Wow. So he's probably got that pole again, which is actually a very good point, because he kind of stepped up to that top spot very late in the qualifying. So yeah, there may have been some hope that he wouldn't be able to run away as easily, but those hopes have now been dashed. And the drivers will have to work hard. Everybody's going to regroup. There's going to be some data gone over, without a doubt, Joey, to try and assess how do we get fast enough to catch this guy.
It's going to be a frustrating data session, I'll tell you that much. He has been the class of the field all weekend long. And I don't see how that's going to change tomorrow unless somebody goes up there and challenges him on the racecraft, especially on that opening lap. We saw how many positions changed, especially between turn 1 and 5 on this one. No reason to think that it can't happen tomorrow.
And Anna stayed close to about 3 seconds for much of it. She could be the one to try and force that hand. But for today, as the checkered flag comes out, Ford Koch wins race number 1. Behind him, crossing the line, Greg Checki will take his first win of 2026 here in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Cayman Series. Rest of the cars run across the line, so let's go through your finishing order. Ford Koch, your winner, with Anna Checki coming home in second. Then you get to the Masters, where Greg Checki takes the win but finishes third overall. Keith Grant is third in the Pro-Ams, but fourth overall. You've got Tom Rogers, who was second in the Masters, but fifth overall, while Bill Pelichewski was third in the Masters and sixth overall. We'll go overall position from here on out. It is Greg Herback, who was seventh. Dan Drowan finished in P8. It is Tad Cusack who finishes in the 9th position. Tom Kerr was P10. Rob Trollinger was 11th. Cody Knight finished 12th, and Jim Johnson 13th. Chad Knight, Todd Ratura, and Spencer Proper, DNFs for today. We will wrap things up here at the track, but we will have our podium ceremonies for those watching the broadcast here in a bit.
So that does wrap up the on-track racing action.
When was the last time you drove your Porsche to watch some racing and you got to drive on the same racetrack? Welcome to the Porsche GT Track Day. Coaching from Porsche experts to go from recon laps to being let loose on track in your own car. VIP hospitality, paddock access, and more. Space is limited. Book now.
Day.
And we've got our winner in the Masters class. It's Greg Checky. Greg, congratulations. Your first win of 2026. You came close before. Is this finally a weight off your shoulders?
Oh, yeah. Huge weight off my shoulders. You know, that first lap, I got out there. I tried to take my daughter out in turn 5, and when I failed at that, I decided to just follow her because she always has a perfect line and just makes it easy to get behind her and go.
We saw that you also had third place in the Pro-Ams kind of behind you. Was there any thoughts of, I got to hold this guy up a little bit to help Anna out?
Yeah, I just had a nice gap behind me and a buffer, so I wanted to keep as much buffer between me and Rogers and Pelichewski, because, man, those guys are so darn fast, and I know they were hunting me down, so I just wanted to keep someone there between us.
Well, amazing job. What does this do for your season? Does this kind of kick things off for you?
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome start for both of us, so we're having a great time, and, we're here to have fun, and just looking forward to the next one. Great time.
Awesome work. Enjoy the win. Where's Ford? Okay, we. Now we have Ford Koch, our winner in the Pro-Ams. And Ford, it looked like you were dominating out there. Did it feel like domination?
Not at first. Definitely had to build a gap. I'm still getting used to the car. It's my second session driving it. But the team just told me to calm down and just focus on keeping the tire under me and just running a really calm, neat race. And I feel like that's what we were able to do. And, yeah, it was really warm out there. I was told the AC wasn't the best thing to do. So I was sweating in there. But, no, it was a very fun, very good time.
Well, speaking of having to calm down, when they had an immediate yellow at the start of the race, did that bring the nerves up knowing you had to suddenly do a restart as well?
Not necessarily. I was just happy I could do it again. I felt like I did a pretty good job the first time, and just practicing safety car restarts, I think that was a really positive experience.
Can you come back and do this all over again tomorrow? Because you certainly look very strong.
I believe I can, and that's what we're fully planning on doing, and Kelly Moss gave me a great car.
Awesome stuff. Congratulations on the win. That was our victor in the Pro-Am class. And again, join us tomorrow as we have the Caymans starting at 3 p.m. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.